Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Chamber Chats, a podcast series brought to you by Sevenoaks District Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host. My name is Nick Bryant, and I'm really pleased to be joined this morning by Charles Tennant, who is a partner at Warner Solicitors. Morning, Charles.
Good morning, Nick.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's a lovely December day out there, so it's a joy to be inside and be warm and dry.
Isn't it nice? Yes, it's a typical December day. Let's start off, Charles, by talking a little bit about Warners and who they are, what they do. Just give us a bit of background on them.
Warners are a law firm that have been in existence for a very, very long time, about 250 years.
Wow.
Originally started in Tunbridge. Now obviously have an office in Sevenoaks as well, because obviously it's the chat about Sevenoaks Chamber.
Yeah.
Been in Sevenoaks, I want to say, since 1987 or something like that. So we've got very deep roots in both towns. Name of the firm has changed slightly over the years, but that firm has been around for a very, very long time.
Right. Yeah.
And we're now in what's called Bank House, which is just behind the castle. But for a very, very long time, we were on the high street. And in fact, the building has only recently disappeared.
Oh, right, okay.
So been there a very, very long time. And interesting little unknown fact that I didn't know, which is that the office, Bank House in Tunbridge, is on the site of the Tunbridge Poorhouse.
The Tunbridge
Poorhouse.
Right, okay.
You know, where the poor and were sent when they couldn't.
Ironic, isn't it, really? How funny. And is Mr. Warner's around? Or does it not work like that?
We still have one Warner left, Charles Warner, who
Okay.
is now a consultant, so no longer a partner.
Okay.
Very much at the end of his career.
Yeah.
But he was the last one. But before him, there is a whole long list of Warners.
Right,
So
okay.
yeah, they've been around. Warner's got involved, I want to say, so the firm's been in existence since the late 18th century.
Yeah.
So something like 1775 or something like that from memory.
Yeah.
And I ought to know that actually. It was about, I think from memory, it's about 1850, something like that the first Warner arrives.
Right, okay.
And that's when the name eventually
Yeah,
ends up
fascinating.
in the firm.
There's probably some documentation about it somewhere, about the history of it somewhere.
One of our senior partner, Mark, I think it's Mark, has written a book all about the history. So if you're really, it would have to be fairly nerdy to read that.
Or maybe if you're going for a job at Warner's, it would be a good idea to do a bit of research on that.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah. Talking of jobs at Warner's, you employ lots of different people. I think you're one of the largest employers in the area. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We've got about 130 staff in total. The firm is made up, obviously, you've got the fee earners, which are primarily the solicitors.
Yeah.
But you've got all the support staff. That's not just, there's some really important roles there that are crucial to the running of the firm, whether you're talking about the secretaries or the receptionists,
Of course,
or
yeah.
accounts or HR. There's a huge team behind the sort of face of Warners that makes the whole firm run.
Yeah.
And without them, lawyers couldn't do their jobs.
Absolutely, yeah, really important. Everyone is important, aren't they? And the different kinds of law that you work on?
So the firm is a fairly typical high street practice, or it might call itself a small regional practice. It covers all the usual high street law that most individuals need.
Yeah.
So whether that's buying a house or getting a probate or writing a will or going through a divorce. And there's also wider aspects. We've got the civil litigators, like the employment lawyers, and then we've got some commercial lawyers as well.
Okay.
Whether that's commercial disputes or whether that's agreements preparing firms. So that's where you have commercial clients, so business clients.
Yeah, okay.
But primarily the firm is what we call a private client firm.
Okay.
In that sort of a very significant proportion of the work is dealing with people's estates and wills and estate planning.
Right, okay. That's quite... Would you call yourself a full-service law firm? That some people...
Lots of firms would call themselves that. And
yeah.
It's a
just
fair claim, but,
Yeah.
but unless you're talking about a sort of London city firm with thousands of staff, then probably not really.
No, right,
But
okay.
in terms of what the usual, normal, if such a word exists, the normal client wants in terms of the sort of help that most people need,
Yeah.
whether it's buying a house or making a will, getting a divorce, that's what we can help with.
Right. Okay. And in Sevenoaks, you're a big part of the community, working with the local community. I see you sponsor quite a lot of things. Your branding is on a lot of events, the things that go on in Sevenoaks, and of course, Sevenoaks District Chamber of Commerce is important to you. I see you at some of the meetings. They're great networking events, aren't they? How do you get involved with Sevenoaks Chamber, and what do you do to help them in your support as a partner?
The firm, in general, has been involved in the Sevenoaks Chamber from the very beginning.
Right.
And we're very proud of the fact that we've always been involved. Various colleagues have been on the committees, etc. And the great thing about the Sevenoaks Chamber is that there are so many different events. There are different things for people to do. Yeah. Some colleagues, of course, enjoy networking.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
I really enjoy that, but I'm not often allowed to go because Friday's so busy.
Right, yeah. It's in Knoll Park sometimes.
It is. Yeah. It's a really nice way to spend the day. The only problem is when you come back and find all the emails that you haven't dealt with.
Yes.
The chambers are really vibrant group, and there's always lots of interesting people to talk to and chat and meet with.
Yeah.
And obviously, with someone like Sevenoaks, you need an active chamber to ensure that the businesses could get the best deal they can and the town is thinking about them. We are an important part of Sevenoaks. Obviously, a lot of people, live in Sevenoaks and commute to London, but the businesses are there and, are providing a service to the people who live there.
Yeah, and the support they get through the chamber is crucial as well, because it, obviously, as a business owner, it can be lonely at times, and to have that support that the chamber give, not only with networking, but with just sort of peer-to-peer support and referring other businesses that can help them, like yourselves.
I think if you're a small business, must be really, there's probably some times that are quite dark and quite scary. How are you going to pay your bills this month and your overdraft? Obviously, we're in a slightly different situation because we're a large business, but it must be really helpful to have people you can talk to and get help and support from. And obviously go to local advisors. I mean, one of the things that I always despair is when you find that someone says to me, I bought this house and the lawyers were terrible, and I sort of say, well, where were these lawyers based? Oh, they were in Liverpool, they were in Yorkshire. And I was like, well, you couldn't really go and get any help, could you? Whereas if you go to someone locally and you need help or there's a problem, then you can walk into their office and say, come on, can you help me with this? And then you can resolve it. So my message would be always use local advisors, local help, because they're there. That's what is there.
It makes perfect sense, really, doesn't it? Well, some businesses or some people may have a referral from the estate agent they're using or something like that to use that law firm, and mistakenly, it's not the right approach. I think, like you say, it's nice to use people local. So what line of law do you specialise in, Charles?
I'm a family lawyer. I've been specialising in family law pretty much from the beginning of my career, so that's 2004, so 20 odd years now.
Okay.
It's an area of law that is interesting because it's about real people.
Yes.
It's about actually helping people with what is often like the most difficult moment in their lives.
Yeah.
And from a professional perspective, one of the things I like about it is that that there's certain processes that you can go through, and if you go through that process, even the most difficult matter can be resolved. But it's rewarding when you actually help a client resolve something. When they have a conclusion, when they have a settlement, when matters are resolved and they get to move on. And you can see that the clients in family law are very much on a journey. At the start of the journey, they're trying to come to terms with the end of the relationship, and hopefully by the end, they're now able to move forwards constructively. And obviously, in a perfect world, not always possible, have a positive relationship with the ex-partner, be able to co-parent the children. That's what we're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, a real positive outcome to what could be a bad situation.
It's always going to be difficult. We're no happy, as I say to my clients, that I totally understand that you're not going to be happy about going through this process. And I try not to say, are you happy or are you content, but are you satisfied with where we've got to?
Yeah, I think your job must be quite difficult to give them comfort as well when going through that process. So you probably have to be a bit of a counsellor.
Yes. I mean, that is the difficulty. And of course, we're not trained or qualified, but we are sympathetic. very sympathetic. Some clients go through truly horrific experiences, and it's very, very tough. And of course, we'll do absolutely everything we can to support them. If we didn't have some empathy and sympathy, then we shouldn't be doing the job.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we've got to be really careful that we don't end up in this position where they're spending a lot of money talking to us about things that aren't really legal issues or problems.
Yes, of course.
And also, we do need to try and retain a little bit of impartiality about it, because we've got to try and see the wood from the trees, so that when something comes along, we're able to say, actually, that's not a bad outcome. Even though, obviously, eventually, hopefully, you have a really good relationship with your client, you like them, you want to get the best possible outcome
Yes,
for
of
them.
course, yeah.
But equally, you don't want to have the sort of blinkers on that, it must be this this outcome, or it must be this. What I say in family law is, I actually don't want to win or lose. If there are winners, then there are losers, and if there are losers, then someone probably got a bad deal.
Yeah.
So I'd actually much more prefer a situation where, frankly, neither party's 100% happy with their outcome. That probably means it was broadly fair.
Okay, yeah.
But if one person thinks they won, they got the result, then that probably means somebody else lost.
It's lost, yeah. That's not the ideal outcome. So law arbitrator and law arbitration.
Yeah, so
explain that.
Yeah, so arbitration is a form of what we call alternative dispute resolution. So we have a situation difficulty, which is that the court system is struggling. It's well reported in the main press. What you normally read about in the main media is the criminal courts. And in fact, there was an article, I think this week, they're talking about taking away jury trials, aren't they? And that's because they're acknowledging that if you're arrested and charged for something now in 2025, you may not get your trial till 2030.
Wow.
So that's the criminal courts. Obviously, fortunately, family law, we're dealing with the family courts, but the same problems arise, which is that fundamentally there's not enough resources, there's not enough money in the system, there's not enough judges. And therefore, what it means is that if you go through the court process, it's incredibly slow.
Yeah, right.
And there are often occasions where, and this is the nightmare scenario that we absolutely hate, which is where you're all ready to go to court, say tomorrow, and then this afternoon at 4:00 we get a phone call, or even worse, an email, sorry, there's no judge tomorrow.
God.
Your hearing is off. And that's a huge problem, because if you've booked a barrister, you almost certainly have already had to agree to pay them.
Right.
So you've now incurred a barrister's fee for a hearing that's never going to happen.
God.
So what are the alternatives? Well, one of them is arbitration. Arbitration is effectively a private alternative to court. So instead of having a judge who's appointed by the Lord Chancellor's Department, by the Department of Justice, what you're talking about is a judge that's appointed by the parties, which will be a solicitor like me or a barrister who has the arbitration training.
Okay, right.
You appoint them, and then they deal with your case instead of the court-appointed judge, and their decision is binding on you.
Right.
You sign a form that says, we accept that we will sign up to the arbitrator's agreement. So you can't then go, oh, I didn't like that, I'll just go off and get another decision. No, you're stuck with it.
Okay.
And then, so the idea is, it's effectively, unfortunately, the privatisation of the court system, really.
Right, yeah.
Like people might talk about the privatisation of the NHS. It's a private alternative, but the advantages are significant because you don't then have to wait months for a judge.
Yeah.
You don't have the situation where you get a phone call the day before to say the judge isn't going to be available. And the arbitrator will do things where you want them to do this. So if you want them to come to your solicitor's office, then that's what they'll do. If you want the arbitration to take place on Friday afternoon because that's the day that's convenient for you, then that's what will happen. Whereas, of course, if it's the court, it'll be whatever day.
Whatever they suggest, yeah, right.
So the other key advantage of arbitration is that you can agree between you what the issues are. And you can do that to a certain extent with the court, but with an arbitrator, you can say, right, look, we've agreed the issues A, B, and C. We just need you to decide on D and F, please.
Right, okay.
So in theory, you can really narrow the issues.
Right, okay.
And whilst obviously there's an extra expense because you've got to pay the arbitrator's fee.
Right, that's what I was going to ask, yeah.
It'll probably still be cheaper because instead of waiting a year, so for example, if we had a dispute on a new matter, and I said to the client, okay, we're going to have to issue court proceedings. We won't get to final hearing in financial review proceedings for at least 18 months, maybe 24 months, maybe 36 months. Wow. Whereas if we say, well, let's appoint an arbitrator, subject to us doing the homework, the steps that need to be taken to put the case into preparation, there's no reason why we can't go to arbitration in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So instead of having 2.5 years of hell or 18 months of hell, 2.5 years of lawyers' fees, all that correspondence, all that work. You just cut to the chase and deal with it.
Fast track it.
6 months. Yeah. So exactly, fast track. That's precisely it.
Yeah.
So it's something that is only ever going to grow.
Okay.
But the difficulty is that it's really only people who can afford it. You've got to be able to afford the cost of the exercise. So if you are not wealthy, it's not going to be open to you. But for many, many people, it's a bit of a no-brainer. But we have got, it's an adjustment period, so people have still got to come to terms, I mean the lawyers actually, that this is a really sensible alternative.
And can other law firms offer that, or do you have to be trained?
You have to qualify as
Right.
an arbitrator, so
Right.
you either have to be a solicitor or a barrister.
Right.
You have to have done a minimum number of years of experience, then you apply, which is not terribly complicated, and then you go on a relatively short course.
Right, okay.
But you, unless you have a certain minimum number of years of family law experience, you won't be allowed to get past the application process.
Right. Okay.
So I would suggest that you probably wouldn't want to do it unless you had a minimum of 5 to 10 years experience.
Right. Okay. Okay.
A lot of what you'll find is a lot of the arbitrators, probably more barristers than solicitors, and a lot of them will also be what's called part-time judges, so deputy district judges.
Oh, really?
So they already have the skills because they are a part-time judge. So it's a different string.
I've never heard of that before. I don't know why. I guess, why would I?
It's a huge part of family law. So I was in court, in inverted commas, yesterday for an alternative private hearing. Now, we didn't have an arbitrator, but we had what's called a private FDR judge. So it's another situation where rather than waiting to go and have a hearing before a conventional judge in, frankly, a dingy, cold
horrible
court, we go and have a FDR in barristers' chambers in central London, which is what we did yesterday. The FDR is a financial dispute resolution hearing. So that is the future of family law, whether we like it or not, is that we're going to see more and more cases stepping out of the conventional, traditional court system and looking at alternatives to dispute resolution, because it will fundamentally be quicker and cheaper, even once you factor in paying the private judges, arbitrators.
Yeah. Very interesting. It must take up a lot of your time and a lot of your mind space. Do you switch off quite easily?
It's something that when you're a junior lawyer you have to learn to do, because otherwise you just get so stressed out about it. I remember when I was a trainee, I had a case where I had some clients who were not wealthy people, and they were going through a process where I think they'd lost their jobs, so they were going to get repossessed, the board's going to get repossessed.
Right.
I felt terrible for them. I did everything I could. I applied to the court to try and adjourn it, which I did successfully. But ultimately what I realised was I can't pay the mortgage for them.
No.
So you have got to try and let it go. Sometimes that's easier than others, and I won't lie to you, there are occasions where I wake up in the night and think, what about X? Or
of course,
should I have done Y?
But people do that in normal jobs as well, by the way, don't they?
It is just a job like any other. It is just a job. There are certain aspects of it that are more stressful, but there are other aspects that are probably easier than a lot of very demanding jobs out there.
Yeah. And do you live locally? Do you live in Sevenoaks as well?
I don't live in Sevenoaks, no. I live in Uckfield and East Sussex.
Right,
I'm Sussex born and bred.
Yeah.
And so I commute into Sevenoaks generally 4 days a week, and tend to work from home 1 day a week.
And do you have? What do you do outside of work? Have you got any passions, pastimes?
Well, my primary pastime at the moment is ensuring that my son gets to all his sporting events. But in the past, I have been very recent past. I've been a rugby coach because I coached his team.
Right, yeah.
And I also team manage his cricket team.
Okay. Lots of sports.
It's all sport related, I'm afraid. And then if there's any time left for me, which is frankly unusual, I try and go out and ride my bike and get some exercise.
Yeah.
But this weekend I took my son to Chichester for a rugby match. So we left home at 8:30 and we got home at 3:15.
Yeah, that's the day consumed, isn't it?
It's a long day. But it's all great because it's fantastic. And as I say to my wife, they're growing up so quickly. And in a few years' time, they'll be off to university, and then we'll be.
But it goes so fast. My son's 21 now, and you just can't believe how quick it's gone, and where that time goes. And when they're 4, 5, 12, 15, and you're doing whatever you're doing with them, it's so important to remember that moment is going to pass.
I know.
So you're very aware of that. So what does the future hold for Warners? Are they looking to grow? Are they just continue doing good jobs for their clients?
So Warners has sort of strategy for the last few years has been what we call organic growth. So it's just trying to grow the business by either bolting on existing law firms or hiring new staff or expanding teams. And there have been a couple of really great successes where we've managed to bring in a couple of new clients that have been very valuable, very wealthy clients, and also clients with a great deal of work for us. I'm thinking of one particular client who produces a huge amount of work. So it's organic growth that we're looking at. That's not to say that we don't consider alternatives. And the world of the law firms are always looking at trying to find other firms to acquire, or they're thinking about combining. But we're very happy in our position in Sevenoaks and in Tunbridge. And I don't foresee that changing significantly.
No. You're just one of those. Let's say one of those. You're one of those companies that just are always there. You know, they're Warners. Everyone knows Warners in Tunbridge and Sevenoaks, and it's a brand that you see. The green, the logo. It's very familiar, and we like that. So that's great.
We're very lucky because we've got a number of partners who've been with the firm for very much the majority of their career, who are very committed to doing the job, but being visible and being part of the community. And so as a consequence, we're well known.
Yeah, absolutely. Charles, thanks very much. Thanks for coming in.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
It's really good to talk to you. I wish you well. Have a great Christmas. We're on December the 9th, so we're getting close, aren't we?
We are, and I'm looking forward to a break when we get there.
Yeah, when do you stop?
I'm going to have to work all the way up to Christmas.
Are you? Right.
But there's bits and bobs going on. My son's got a cricket trial on Friday.
Of course he has.
So it's work and play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you all for another podcast soon. Thanks,
Brilliant.
Charles. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.